Muammar Gaddafi often emphasized Libya's connections to the so-called Sub-Saharan region of Africa, but he largely overlooked an important chapter of African history that took place within Libya's borders, the Garamantes civilization. In the vast desert regions of present-day Libya and Niger, on a territory the size of the Central African Republic, the ancient Garamantes established the foundations of a remarkable civilization. Despite their impressive achievements, the Garamantes remain one of the least known civilizations in African history. This ancient Saharan culture thrived for over 2,500 years. It is worth noting that the Garamantes, a civilization that existed long before the Islamic era, establishes the presence of blacks in North Africa, an account that has been challenged by current North Africans and supported by Western scholars vested in denying the rightful place of black Africans in world history. The Garamantes lived in an area along ancient trans-Saharan trade routes, with settlements around key oases regions, including Wadi al-Ajal, Wadi ash-Shati, and Zuwila Murzuk Burjuj, with their capital at Jarma, or Garma, depending on the historical record. So, what is the origin of this mysterious civilization? To answer this question, we will first need to understand the history of this region of Africa. The Sahara, now the world's largest desert, was once a lush, green landscape. Around 70,000 years ago, drought turned the region into an arid zone, lasting nearly 60,000 years. After the Ice Age, rains returned about 10,000 years ago, transforming the area into a savanna rich with vegetation, animals, and agriculture. Until about 5,000 years ago, the Sahara supported advanced cultures, including one that developed mummification. These early cultures, along with influences from the African Great Lakes region, contributed to the rise of pharaonic civilization in Nubia and Egypt. However, another drought 5,000 years ago caused widespread migration. Those who stayed clustered around remaining water sources. One of these groups, a black Berber population, established the Garamantes civilization about 2,500 years ago. The term Sub-Saharan Africa has been widely used to suggest that Africa, particularly its black populations, only truly begin south of the Sahara. This colonial expression has contributed to a distorted understanding of Africa's history, separating the north from the rest of the continent in ways that overlook the rich and diverse populations that lived throughout the region, including the Sahara itself. Philosophers like Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel reinforced these misleading ideas. In his 19th century works, Hegel infamously described Africa as a land without history, and he used the term Sub-Saharan Africa to divide the continent. According to his Eurocentric and racist theories, North Africa was seen as part of the civilized world due to its connections with Europe and the Mediterranean, while he relegated Black Africa to a realm of stagnation and primitiveness, dismissing its historical and cultural contributions. These ideas were used to justify the colonial view that only the areas south of the Sahara represented true Africa, home to people of lesser development and significance. This framework ignored the reality of Africa's interconnected history and the shared experiences of its people across the continent, including the black populations that flourished north of the Sahara. Historian Frank M. Snowden, in his book Before Color Prejudice, The Ancient View of Blacks, describes the Garamantes as very dark-skinned people from the northwest of Africa. Several ancient sources describe the Garamantes as black Africans. The Roman poet Lucan referred to them as sunburned, highlighting their dark skin, likely from living in the intense sun of the Sahara. Another Roman writer, Anorbius, called them furvi, a term meaning black or swarthy, further emphasizing their dark complexion. Greek geographer Ptolemy also described the Garamantes as moderately black in his famous work, Geographia. The Romans, who were often at war with the Garamantes, harbored strong feelings of hatred toward them. Modern historian David Mattingly has also pointed out that Roman records described the Garamantes as black. His research confirms that the Garamantes were an indigenous black African kingdom. Additionally, studies of their skeletal remains reveal that they closely resembled people from sub-Saharan Africa, showing that the Garamantes were indeed part of Africa's broader black population. The Garamantes built their first settlements, protected by large walls. They were skilled farmers, traders, and warriors who became known for their powerful chariots that dominated neighboring tribes. Even the Greek historian Herodotus called them a very great nation. But how could such a civilization thrive in the dry Sahara Desert, far from rivers and rain? Their incredible achievement was digging underground water channels. Ancient rains left huge underground water reservoirs called aquifers beneath the Sahara. The Garamantes figured out how to access this water by digging through the rock and using clever irrigation systems called fogara to water their crops. They used this cleverly harvested water to grow millet, sorghum, wheat, and even olives and dates. Archaeologists have found almost 600 tunnels, some stretching for miles, and more than 100,000 access shafts that are up to 40 meters deep. As their empire flourished, the Garamantes began constructing impressive stone buildings, including grand temples. They followed a form of spirituality rooted in African spirituality. Their capital, Jerma, had Roman-style baths, and the houses of the elite were large and sophisticated. They built permanent fortifications, some of which still stand today. The Garamantes also built massive tombs for their leaders, with some shaped like pyramids. The empire had various major cities. One of these was Jado in modern-day Niger, a mysterious walled city that is believed to have been another Garamante stronghold. They also developed their own writing system and practiced advanced medicine, even performing successful brain surgeries. By the 4th century, the Garamantes faced trouble. The fall of the Western Roman Empire meant they lost their main trading partner. Over time, their aquifers began to dry up, and water became scarce. By the 7th century, the Arabs had taken over the region, and the once great Garamante Empire faded into history, with its people dispersing from their major commercial cities. Until the lions have their own historians, the tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter.